Joining us now to analyze today's headlines is our news analyst Rahul Mahajan. He's a sociologist and author of the book Full Spectrum Dominance. Hi, Rahul.
Hi, Sonali.
Well, the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria released a video over the weekend saying they have beheaded yet another American, a man named Peter Kasich. 26-year-old Kasich was a former U.S. soldier who returned to the Middle East as a medical worker when he was kidnapped by ISIS. He converted to Islam while in captivity for more than a year. President Obama responded to the news, saying Kasich, quote, was taken from us in an act of pure evil by a terrorist group that the world rightly associates with inhumanity. The video released by ISIS was apparently recorded in Aleppo, Syria, and includes grisly scenes of beheadings of a number of men that the group claims are Syrian pilots. Now, Rahul, there was some hope that Kasich's conversion to Islam would save his life, but that wasn't the case. How does that fit with what we know about ISIS, a group that has forced some of its captives to convert?
Well, that's an interesting question, and the forced conversions are actually, I think they're not among the more common techniques that ISIS uses. I mean, mostly they're either driving out or killing people who are not Muslims. But remember that ISIS, along with many other groups, are takfiris, which mean that they reserve the right to claim that other Muslims are really infidels. So they've done a blanket claim with Shia, a claim with for a lot of Kurdish Sunni Kurds, and they just annihilated a large chunk of the Albu Nimr tribe, who are Sunni Arabs. So it's not clear that they consider any Muslim who doesn't agree with them to be a true Muslim. But I think the biggest thing is simply that he was a hostage. They wanted money for him, and if they don't get money for their hostages, they kill them.
Right. Representatives of federal agencies have gathered in La Porte, Texas, a city several miles outside Houston, to probe a chemical leak that killed 4 workers last week. The leak took place at a DuPont chemical plant and was apparently contained within 2 hours. The plant manufactures what the New York Times calls a, quote, highly toxic pesticide that kills insects, ticks, and mites in vegetable and fruit crops, cotton fields, and poultry houses. DuPont also manufactures the same chemical that Union Carbide made in Bhopal, India 30 years ago, which leaked, killing tens of thousands of people. Meanwhile, a massive project, which is also feared for potential toxic leaks, is the Keystone XL oil pipeline. The House of Representatives passed a bill approving construction for the 9th time on Friday. Now, Rahul, the Texas leak could have been potentially disastrous. Doesn't that make the case for stronger government regulation of such projects, which, of course, the GOP often fights against tooth and nail?
Well, Sonali, it is true, of course, that the GOP is truly awful, but this is a problem that goes well beyond the partisan divide. I mean, if you look at the Chemical Safety Board, which is investigating this and has been really had a lot of major disasters recently to investigate, including Deepwater Horizon, a refinery fire that killed 7 people a few years ago, and in fact an incident involving Dow 3 years ago that killed somebody. They have 20 staffers for the entire board. Their budget last year was $11 million. That's with an M, and they're in a real act of chutzpah. They're asking for over $12 million for the 2015 budget. So we're talking about a board that structurally is completely unable to cope with the kinds of things that it's tasked to do.
And finally, a Sierra Leonean doctor named Martin Celia died this morning from the Ebola virus while at a biocontainment center in Omaha, Nebraska. Dr. Celia is now the second person to die from the deadly virus on U.S. soil. Thomas Eric Duncan, a Liberian immigrant, was the first. Celia was in critical condition upon arrival and only tested positive for the virus 10 days ago. He was administered a number of treatments, including Z-MAP, a rare drug that has been known to work, and a plasma transfusion from an Ebola survivor to no avail. While he lived in Maryland, he had returned to his native Sierra Leone to help in the fight against Ebola. Now, Rahul, health workers like Celia are risking their lives to treat Ebola patients. Do you think that this case will be used as a political football by lawmakers to restrict travel, as some have been trying to do?
It's not only health workers now, but there are hundreds of people involved in the testing of hopefully a new vaccine for Ebola. So yes, people are risking their lives, and here people are playing political games about it. My guess is, it's hard to predict, but my guess is they're not going to make a big deal out of it because Ebola has served its purpose for the Republican Party now that the elections are over.
Well, Rahul, I want to thank you very much for joining us today. We'll talk to you again next week.
See you then.
Rahul Mahajan is our daily Newsflash guest expert. He's a sociologist and news analyst and author of Full Spectrum Dominance. By the way, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel online at youtube.com/uprising with Sonali. We're only 200 people shy of 1,000, and we'll hope you join us. When we come back, we'll take a look at what's happening in Mexico. Stay tuned.